Hello. Okay, before I get started, I'm gonna hang out and just see if anybody shows up. Oh, the life of Facebook Live. There's nobody there. I'm all by myself. Nobody's gonna come and join me. I hear Facebook dinging behind the video. This is such an important topic too. Come on, people. Only another minute or so, and then I'm just gonna talk, and maybe you guys will watch it later. Okay, I'm just gonna start. Okay, so earlier I was giving the PD Mom tip of the day, and we talked a little bit about strangers and why you shouldn't use the term stranger when you're talking to your kids about safety issues. And I briefly touched on personal boundaries, but decided that it needs to kind of be its own thing. So I am not going to go in great detail because on the actual website that's coming soon, pdmom.com, there's going to be some articles written by some physician mothers that goes a little bit deeper into it. But I definitely wanted to touch on it because it's something that's super important. So just to recap on some of the numbers that I mentioned earlier, they're very, very scary. 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys are going to be sexually assaulted in their lifetime. About 12% of those, hey Melanie, about 12% of the girls and about 28% of the boys that are sexually assaulted, it's going to happen to them when they're 10 years old or younger. So that's why it's super important to kind of start this early. And that's just of the incidents that we know of, because only about 12% of sexual abuse, sexual assault is actually reported. So there's a ton out there that's not reported. And a good portion of those that aren't reported is for fear on the kids' part that they're not going to be believed, fear that they're going to get in trouble, all sorts of stuff. So that's why it's so important to talk about personal boundaries with kids, because it empowers them, it makes them feel more comfortable being assertive, and it helps with maybe hopefully lessening their chances of being sexually assaulted. And if they do, because we can't avoid everything, if they do become sexually assaulted, it helps give them the power to let other people know that that's happened. So one of the things that I wanted to chat about is first start talking to your kids super duper early. The earlier the better. There is no age that's too young to start talking to them about their body, not only about body parts, but also about how their body belongs to them, that they get to choose how their body is touched. And it means a lot of different things when they're very, very young, and as they get older, you kind of change that conversation. But you can start very early. Always use anatomical, the proper names for all of the body parts. Unfortunately, I have seen quite a few kids in the pediatric ER that have disclosed abuse, and when you talk to them, sometimes it actually comes out that they've actually disclosed previously, but they were using terms for their body parts that were not the proper terms. So people who they were disclosing to didn't really even know that they were disclosing that. They thought that they were talking about something completely unrelated. So that's why nicknames are not a good idea. So talk about it frequently, make it not a big deal to talk about private parts. An important thing, though, is when you're talking about the child's body and them having kind of control over who touches it and what's done to their body, it's also important to let them know that we're not only talking about private parts, because unwanted touch or uncomfortable touch, which is actually a better way to say it than bad touch, an unwanted touch can actually be for anywhere on the body. It doesn't mean it has to be a private part. So when we talk about with the grooming process that predators do with kids, it very rarely starts off with any overt touching of the private parts. It usually will start off with tickling, touching of the shoulder, comforting, hugging a little too long, asking for kisses on the cheeks, that kind of thing. And so one part of empowering kids to have those boundaries is to let them know that we're not just talking about private parts, and if they feel uncomfortable, that's funny. Hi guys. If they feel uncomfortable with any kind of touch anywhere on their body, that they should have the ability to say no and tell somebody that they trust. And that actually reminds me something I think is super, super important to mention. When we're talking to kids about boundaries, we have to follow through with all of that. So when we explain to them that they are the ones that have the choice of somebody touching them or asking them to do something for them, you can't go back and change that in certain situations. Like when grandma wants a kiss on the cheek, if the kid says, no, I don't want a kiss on the cheek, or I don't want to kiss her on the cheek, that's okay. That's one of their boundaries, and you need to let them have that. Because if you start to kind of flounder on that a little bit, and you're like, oh, well, in this situation, it's different. This situation is different. If it comes down to it and a kid is being approached and a situation is starting to get scary for them, they're going to be confused, because mom and dad sometimes tell me it's my choice, and sometimes they tell me it's not my choice. So it's super important to stick to it. So one of the things that I do with my daughter is that from a very, very young age, not only did we talk about it, but we always said that when you say no and you say stop, everybody, no matter who it is, has to stop, including mom and dad. So even when she, like, if we're tickling and she's having fun, and as a lot of kids do, they kind of say, no, 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 stop, even though they're not really meaning stop because they're laughing and they're having a good time. If she says stop, even though I know it doesn't mean that kind of stop, I still stop. And if she says, wait, what are you doing? I wanted you to tickle me. I say, remember, we talked about it. If somebody is touching you in any way, even if it's tickling, and you say stop, that means stop. So that just reinforces the fact that she's the one that has control. If she says stop or doesn't like something, that has to be. So that's just another kind of way that you can go about it. What else did I want to say in here? The nicknames I talked about. Oh, something super important, because a lot of us parents talk a lot about respecting adults, that adults that are in charge, coaches, teachers, babysitters, that kind of stuff, that they have to listen to them and respect them. And that's absolutely true, don't get me wrong. But you need to make it very clear to the kids that in this particular type of situation, when it comes to their body and people doing things to their body, or them being asked to do something to somebody else, that in that case, they absolutely do not have to respect that adult. Everything gets thrown out of the water when we're talking about this. And it's important to make that distinction, because there's actually been quite a few cases of kids who have been abused and sometimes have even gone with their abusers and were abducted because they were fearful of not respecting that particular adult. So it's really important to make it clear that that's a completely different thing. What else do I want to say? I think that might be it, because I'm not going to go super in length about abuse and all that stuff, because it's such a humongous thing. And I think my daughter's sneaking around over there. And we're going to be doing lots of that stuff on the website. Any of you guys that are hanging out over there have any questions? Or it'd be super cool if there was a way we could chat on this as opposed to just typing. But thanks, Jen. Okay, so what I want from you guys too, if you could help out, is if you could just post on the PD Mom website stuff that you kind of want me to chat about, not only in the Facebook Live videos, but in posts and also on the website, because we have tons of contributors, which is fabulous. But we're going to kind of start and roll them out as it goes live. So I'd like to put the things that you guys want to hear about the most up first, and then I can also have that be the topics the Facebook Live videos that I'm going to be doing, because those of you who are going to join me on this kind of stuff, I want to make sure we're chatting about the things that you guys want to chat about. So help me out and let me know. Post it up on my the PD Mom page. Invite your friends, ask them, and then that's it, I think. I hope that was helpful. Bye.